All right, all right, is it okay if everybody, we go ahead and start? All right, good deal. Hi, welcome, thank you for coming. My name is Ed O. Bridgman. We just started a television show that premieres next week, and I got a promo while we were downstairs about an hour ago, and they said, oh, we're sending your promo out to 1,300 people, and here, check it out. And this is going out in 5 minutes. And I'm downstairs talking to someone and I'm reading it and they go, Ed O. Bridgman. I'm like, I'm not Irish. What?
Oh, Bridgman.
Oh, Bridgman. And I'm like, no, it's Ed O. Bridgman, okay? Because I own EOB Consulting. Oh, I have a pointer. I own EOB Consulting, so that's why I go by Ed O. Bridgman. This is a little bit about my background. Air Force veteran with an MBA and project management professional. I'm also one of the original 5 co-authors of Lean Six Sigma. How many people have ever heard of Six Sigma? 2. Okay. Six Sigma is all about reducing process steps, reducing waste, creating a product or service that exceeds the customer's expectation while maximizing your profit. So if you have a business card, you use both sides. All about efficiency, reducing costs, reducing waste, doing more up front in the planning stage while it's ink on paper, and not making mistakes with concrete that you wish later, oh, I wish I'd have put these on a different angle. That would be a big mistake, right? That'd be hard to correct later. So I was an electrical engineer at Motorola designing microprocessors, and Ronald Reagan was the president, and we were being beat. The country was being beat by our Japan and different ones making electronics, and so President Ronald Reagan created the Malcolm Baldrige Award. We were the very first to win the Malcolm Baldrige Award. So here I am, an introverted electrical engineer, and I thought we were going to win a check. I thought we were going to get some money or something. No! Ronald Reagan said, you're now my consultant. I want you to go out to GE, Ford, General Motors, Exxon, Xerox, and I want you to teach the country all about Six Sigma. So some of you are old enough to remember, this is when we stopped making hamburgers at McDonald's and putting them on a tray and having a heat lamp on them for 30 minutes before you get there. We stopped that, okay? And it was made it your way after you order it. This is when Ford came out with quality is job one, service is job one. That's all a result of Six Sigma. That's total quality management. That's all a result of Six Sigma. And I'm one of the original 5 authors of that. So, let's see, then, so I became a consultant, and I actually enjoy standing up in front of people. So then in 2010, April of 2010, there was this great big oil spill out in the Gulf. You might have heard about it. It was in all the papers, okay? BP oil company was fined $24 billion. That money was supposed to be spent along 200 miles of the Gulf Coast, and it was supposed to be spent on tourism marketing. And I said, I need to be in the tourism industry because I don't know nothing about marketing, and I want the federal government to be my marketing tool. And so that's how I got into this industry. The outdoor hospitality industry is a fantastic industry. I don't want to be anywhere else. It's over 100 years old. The silver bullets that go down the Airstreams, everybody familiar with Airstreams? You got them in Canada, all right? They celebrated 100 years in business in 2019. They've been making Airstreams for over 100 years. They were pulling them with Model Ts. I don't know, they might have been pulling them with horses, I don't know. But they've been around forever, okay? So this is a very mature industry, but it's growing with double-digit growth that would make the envy of a high-tech company. Okay, that's how fast this industry is growing right now. And that growth is being fueled by younger, more diversified people. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of people in here, but look around. I'm the oldest one in here, okay? industry is being fueled by more diversified, younger people, okay? And so that means it's going to continue to grow as far out into the future as we can see, at least for the next 10 years, okay? Not a problem. So I got into the outdoor hospitality industry. I've been a consultant already for a long time, but I needed validity. I needed you guys to trust me that I knew what I was doing. So I developed Homestead RV Community. And I'm the only consultant that has their own outdoor hospitality park, okay? It's a community. I'm the only one that has that. So not only is it a profit center, but it's also where you can come and I'll show you the latest technologies. So how do I know it's the latest technologies? We celebrated 5 years in business last month because I'm constantly upgrading it. I am constantly spending EOB Consulting money to update it. So last month we put in 56 new cameras. This is the 3rd round of cameras we've had in 5 years. 2 months ago, we updated our fiber optics. We had 250 megabytes fiber throughout the entire community. We now have 1 gig speeds fiber, okay, throughout the entire community. So, if you're here today and you're saying, I'm getting ready to put a shovel in the ground, I'm going to open a year from now, what fiber should I use, okay? I'm going to tell you, you don't need fiber, all right? I paid $50,000 to have a dedicated fiber optic line brought in. I'm your beta test center, okay? I paid all this money, I had fiber optics brought into every site, every building, 1 gig, blazing speed. I go around and I am the only consultant that owns their own destination, so I get to interview my guests. I interview my guests and I say, how do you like the high-speed internet? 15% of them say, whatever. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, you work from home. I know you're a gamer. I know you play, I know you do Zoom calls. I put in this high-speed internet. I'm sure you enjoy that. And they go, nah. We pay $35 a month for Starlink. We put it in the window. It connects directly to the satellite. And I'm like, I'm faster than Starlink. And they go, we're fast enough. Starlink is fast enough, and I don't have to change my passwords every time I go from one campground to another. Okay, fine, all right? So if you go out to AI right now and you say, AI, tell me what is important today in 2026, what are what are RV owners looking for? AI, the first thing it'll tell you is you've got to have high-speed internet. And that's probably true in 2026. But you're not developing for 2026, are you? You can care less about 2026, right? You're developing for 2028. And my loan goes on for another 15 years. That's what you guys are developing for, all right? Guess what? You don't need high-speed internet, all right? Anybody who is dependent upon high-speed internet will bring it, okay? And I am the only consultant that will tell you that. I'm the first breakout session that you've attended this week and heard that you don't need high-speed internet, okay? Because I'm the only person here this week who actually owns their own RV destination spot. That's what's so very, very, very important. So, give you a couple of statistics. When you are talking about RV sales, make certain that you're not talking about how many RVs were manufactured. All right, whenever you look at these stats, and everybody, the KOA person earlier, she loves to put the stats up there, okay? But she's looking at what's manufactured, not what's sold, all right? And we know this for a fact because all of you are intelligent people. You were smart enough to come to my class. So you know you've driven past Camping World and you've driven past all these different places, and they are stacked to the gills with RVs. That's because they're over manufactured. We don't really care how many you manufactured, we wanna know how many you sold. That's what's important to us. Notice that what was sold in 2014, the average RV owner stayed 14.1 days on a site. That means that you could use that same site for 25 different RV owners throughout the year. All right? You only needed one site to satisfy 25 different people. We sold 340,000. If you take that times the 25, we need 13,125 new sites, in addition to the ones that were already there, in addition to the RVs that were already on the road. We introduced to the road 340, we need 13,000 new sites. In 2014, we only built 11,000 new sites. There's a deficit, there's a delta, okay? We're not building our sites fast enough. How many of you are developing sites? Most of you, okay? How many people are adding sites? There you go, okay? This is why. Because there is a delta between the supply and the demand for sites. The country is looking at a shortage. So, we didn't build enough in 2014, we sold some more. Look, there's a hysteresis, okay? You sell them, and it takes a while to build sites. Everybody's building sites. You can't go out of here today and have a site built by Thanksgiving. Can't do it, okay? Can't get your permit, can't get your engineering, you can't even get your loan by then, okay? So there's a hysteresis, all right? So how many sites are we building? In 2025, the average RV owner is staying 30 days at a site. Significantly more, twice as long per site, okay? What does that mean? You're only able to accommodate 12 RV owners per site, where you used to be able to accommodate 25. All right, what's that mean? You need more sites. All right, so how many sites do we need? 29,500. How many sites did we build? 22,000. The delta is getting wider between the supply and demand. Now, does that mean every single spot in America needs RV sites? No. There are places that are saturated. There are places that have enough, okay? And you gotta remember, and I'll be the only person this week to tell you, 100% occupancy is not your goal. Anybody wanna argue? You want 100% occupancy? Charge $100 a month.
Exactly.
Charge $100 a month. You'll be 100% full. If that's your goal, is to be 100% full, I can tell you how to do that. Charge $100 a month. Bam! You'll be full. Will you be profitable? No, you will not be profitable. It'll cost you more than $100 a month to have them there. You'll be paying them to be there. You will go out of business. You'll be 100% occupied, bankrupt. Your goal is to maximize your profit, all right? If you're at 100% occupancy, you need to raise your site price. If you are hitting a ceiling, you can't raise it anymore, you need to add more sites. One of the two, one or the other, okay? If you're at 100% occupancy, you're laughing. I had a guy right back there.
Argument all the time, and I get pushback from everybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, last year I had a guy bigger than you, had this farm belly on, and he had his overalls on, and he's sitting back there with his baseball cap on in the back row, and I said, 100% occupancy is not your goal, and he said, boom! I'm like, what? He goes, I have 100% occupancy, and I have a waiting list. And I said, you're an idiot. I had 300 people in the room, okay? And 290 of them were like, whoa, did he just do that? Okay? And 10 of them laughed, okay? And he's like, yeah, I have a waiting list. I said, you're an idiot. And I said, you're not trying to maximize your occupancy, you're trying to maximize your profit. I said, you need to raise your rate 10%. He said, if I raise my rate 10%,
Everybody will leave.
10% of the people will leave. I said, you have a waiting list. Let 10% leave, and I guarantee you it'll be the ones that you have the most trouble with, the ones that give you the biggest problems, okay? Let them go, okay? Call the people on the list and backfill it, okay? And then, guess what? Raise it another 10%, and he fell out of his chair. He literally is laying on the ground. No, Edith, I'm coming, Edith. No, Ethel, I'm coming, Ethel. I know, you're too young, for that. All right, but, I said, yeah, raise it another 10%. He said, another 10% will leave. I said, okay, fine, do the math. You're now at 90% occupancy, and you're charging 20% more, and you're making more profit with less assets being used. Your bathroom's being used less. You're getting less wear and tear. You're getting more done with less, and isn't that the goal? Okay? So, hopefully I convinced you. All right. Whether this titled, let's get started. So, some of you are purchasing existing, or you have existing and you're adding, okay? Some of you are developing from raw land, okay? It makes a difference, okay, what you're doing. Because the median age of an RV destination in the United States, the median age, that means half of them are older, half of them are younger, is 40 years of age. 77% of all RV destinations in the United States are older than 20 years of age. Think about that for just a second. Some of you can remember 20 years ago, RVs were different then, okay? They were built different then to handle a different client, okay? They were used for 2 weeks out of the year. All right, they weren't used in extreme conditions. Since then, people are using them longer. We already did that on an earlier slide. They're using them twice as long on average, but some people are using them full time throughout the year under adverse weather conditions. The manufacturers had to change how they developed them, how they manufactured them. They're building them to handle that now. Okay, but the RV owner has changed drastically in the last 5 years. Completely different, okay? So, so it's hard to keep up. So your RV destinations that were, how long ago was your RV destination built?
2019,
Yeah.
opened up 2020.
Opened up 2020, so 6 years old. So you're right there on the cusp. Was it built with daisy chain electrical or honey? So you have home runs.
I have, yeah, breaker on each one.
You have a breaker on each one. Congratulations. That's, everybody understand that. The older ones, built before the 20s, was built with a daisy chain. That means you have a central breaker system, and from there is a trunk line that comes out, goes to this RV site. And then it daisies over to another RV site, and it daisies over to another RV site. The average is about 6 per breaker. That breaker will handle about 200 amps, okay? So if you have 4 different RV sites occupied and they're each pulling 50 amps, you're right at the edge of that breaker. And the 5th person that comes in and plugs in, pops that breaker. All 6 of them go silent. All 6 of them go dark, okay? So now you've upset not only the guy that just came in, but you've upset the 4 people that were already here, all right? You need to have home runs. Extremely important that you have home runs to every RV site so that you can have a separate breaker on each site. In addition to that, we have new RVs coming out that are drawing 100 amps each, okay? So if you have a daisy chain on a 200 amp breaker, you can only use 2 sites. You paid for 6. You've got 4 that you're not able to put anybody on because you already have 2 there, okay? So individual sites, very, very, very important. 20 years ago, the average RV owner had grown up on a farm, they knew how to back. The average RV today, that owner doesn't know how to back, okay? They can't do it, all right? 10% of the people who come to Homestead RV community pull up, get out, throw us the keys and say, you back it. All right, they don't know how to do it, they're not gonna do it. They'll pay extra for a pull-through. They're all gonna be there for 3 months. They're only gonna pull in one time, but they'll still pay extra for a pull-through because they don't wanna back. All right, they're avoiding the back. And part of that is because they're used to narrow roads that weren't designed well. They didn't function well for the people who are trying to get there. So if you're looking for land, you want to know, or if you're looking at an existing place, you want to know if you have the opportunity to expand. Is that possible? Do you have land available to expand? Sometimes it's actually less expensive to go from raw land than it is to try to take out the existing infrastructure and rebuild it correctly to the new specifications. Oftentimes that's the case. So, so the first thing I'd like for you to do, I'd like for you to write down this website. My website, EOB-consulting.com. It won't cost you a penny to go to that website. From that home page, you can launch step by step. Step by step will take you 10 minutes to read it, won't cost you a penny, and it'll take you through the basic steps of how to go from raw land, what to look for, what the order of items is to go from raw land to your grand opening, okay? So you can do that. So the next question you have to do is, do you already own your land, or are you looking for land? Okay, because there are 5 different RV destination types. You guys are getting pearls of wisdom here. I'm the only consultant that's going to tell you there are 5 different RV destination types. I started doing this a few years ago, and KOA decided, yeah, you know what, you're right. We're not going to go in all 5 sites because one of them is losing money. But KOA recognized that what I was saying was correct, and they recognize 3. There's 5. There's 5 different RV destination types. So if you do not own your land, you get to figure out what type you want. If you own your land, the land determines the RV destination type. It functions best on that property, okay? So I'm not saying that if you build the wrong type that you won't make money. I'm saying if you want to maximize your profit, maximize your return on investment, build the correct RV destination type that functions correctly on that piece of property.
One of those.
Next slide. Okay, so the next thing you need to look for when you're looking for land is the sewer. Your barrier to operation, the barrier to development is the sewer. You've got to take care of that sewer. That's the hardest hurdle you're going to have to jump over. You have different access. And so I will review your site for free. I'll say it again. I will review your site for free. You can contact me, we can go to a Zoom call, we can get our monitors up on the screen so we can both see it, and I'll ask you a series of questions and we'll go over it and we'll decide whether or not this is the best piece of land for you, whether or not how much further you should move forward. We'll identify any outstanding red flags, or if you should look for different land or whatever. We'll do that for free. We'll do it as many times as it takes until you find the land that best suits you. Okay? So, which type of RV destination type do you own? So, we already mentioned, this industry's been around for over 100 years. 100 years ago, it was difficult to drive your Model T across country and get from point A to point B. A lot of times you had to stop along the way. You had to stop and pull over along the interstate and rejuvenate, go to the bathroom, sleep, eat, stuff like that. So all of us are aware of parks that are right along the interstate. We've all seen those. They've been around forever. Approximately 100 years ago, Mount Rushmore was open, and Grand Canyon National Park. All these national parks started popping up, and that's a lot of the places where people wanted to go, was to these destinations and see these things. So they wanted to camp nearby where they were being entertained during the day. okay? So campgrounds have been around for over 100 years. So they used a park to get there. Once they got there for a week, they camped out. But they spent their day on the Grand Canyon, Mount Rushmore, Disney World, stuff like that. All right, so campgrounds been around forever. Now, 2017, the average RV is selling for $107,000. And people looked out their door and they go, man, that thing's just sitting out there a big portion of the year. I want to use it more often, but I don't have time to go clear across country. Okay, the price of gas is too high. I want to go within 100 miles of where I live. Okay, and I want to take off work early on a Friday and be hooked up, be ready to go, be at my destination a few hours later, have the hamburgers on the grill before dark. Okay, get up Saturday, I want to be entertained. And then I want to break down Sunday and be back home and back to work on Monday. So, resorts popped up. Okay, we've had resorts around now for quite a while. The thing about resorts is you got to have something for them to do on Saturday. You got to have more amenities. You got to have a kids pool, an adult pool, a workout room, yoga classes, something for them to do. They're on vacation. Okay, it's a mini vacation. This is a brand new term, only 15, 20 years old. That's all the older it is. Okay, so that's when resorts came about. Then communities popped up when the price of a brick and mortar home in 2024 was $571,000. 2024, the average brick and mortar home in the United States is $571,000. Okay, millennials are having difficulty breaking into a new home. Not breaking it. Let's say they go borrow money and actually buy the home. Okay, breaking in would be against the rules. Let's not do that. Okay, so millennials were having trouble getting into a new home. All right, they're having trouble qualifying. Interest rates are high, and the price is out of sight. If you can qualify for a new car loan, you can get a new RV loan. Okay, and the average RV was selling for $107,000. Roughly 20% of what a brick and mortar home was. The average American moves every 4.2 years. Millennials move more often than baby boomers. Okay, so they're moving. If you've ever bought a home, you know in the first 4 years, all you're paying is interest. You haven't paid any principal. You get ready to pack up and move, you've got no equity yet. Okay, but if you own an RV, you take your equity with you. You can move every year, you can move every season. Stay 6 months in the north and 6 months in the south and enjoy everything. So millennials and Generation Z now purchase more RVs than baby boomers. All right? But they have a different use for them. They're living in them full time. Okay? They're living in them long term. We have traveling nurses, we have pipe fitters, concrete workers, steel workers, people that are building Walmart supercenters and Walmart distribution centers and data centers. It might take 11 years to build a data center over a 600-acre lot, okay? They might have 4 water towers dedicated to that data center, okay? Once it's open, it'll have about 300 people working there. And most of them will live in brick and mortar homes. But during that 11 years, those people are living in RVs, okay? Where do you, what? And they get per diem, and they don't care what you charge, okay? They just need to be close. They're working 13 days in a row. They get the 14th day off. They work 12 hours a day, and they are the best tenants, okay? They get up at 5:30, they're gone by 6. You don't see them again until 6:30. They slap a hamburger on the grill, drink a beer, and they're in bed at 8:30, and you never hear from them, okay? They work hard, they play hard, but they're great tenants, okay? And you've got them locked in. So where are we building data centers? In the Northeast. You gotta have water, you gotta have electricity. The Northeast right now is blowing up, okay? There are more RV destinations being built in the Northeast than any other part of the country, Okay, if you can get some cheap farmland within 10 miles of a data center, a Walmart supercenter being built, a Walmart distribution center, an Amazon distribution center, you have guaranteed clients for a long time, okay? And so that would be a community. These are people that are gonna be there a long time, okay? More than a couple of months, all right? Maybe a whole season, 5 to 6 months of a season, okay? Those are communities. Then the fifth one is a hybrid. And the reason why we mentioned hybrids, we talked earlier about the parks that are along the interstate that are supposed to be for overnight guests. They pull in at dusk and they pull out at sunrise. But how many of us have driven past this same park, looked over there and seen that same Winnebago sitting there for the past 2 years? The tires are flat. They've got a wooden staircase going up to it. They've got so many flowers and trees around it, they couldn't move it if they wanted to. Anybody ever seen those? That's a park being used as a community, all right? But I guarantee you won't see is a long-term community being used as a park. So what that tells you is the demand is not for parks. We don't need parks. We need communities. Communities have fewer amenities, less money to develop, higher demand, lower supply. Communities is what you need to consider if your land functions that way, all right? So why do people live in communities? The same reason they live in brick and mortar communities. They want to be close to a grocery store. They want to be close to facilities that they use, Ace Hardware, Lowe's, Walmart. They might have kids. They might want to be in a school district that they like or something like that. Those are the same considerations that people use when they are doing their RV communities, the same as they did for the brick and mortar communities. All right, so your location determines your ideal RV destination type. Your RV destination type determines the guest that you're going to attract. The guest determines the amenities that they're going to demand that you're going to have to supply, okay? The amenities determines your development cost. What you're looking for is the correct balance of construction cost, average daily rate that you're going to charge, the ideal occupancy rate so that you can maximize your profit. I hit the wrong button. So that you can maximize your profit, you want to get the right RV destination type that functions correctly for your land. And then you want some help to make certain that you're pricing it correctly so that you can maximize your profit. That does not mean you maximize your occupancy. Any questions? Clear? Clear as mud? Making sense? Good deal. All right, so your largest barrier to developing, we've already mentioned, is the sewer. These are pictures of Homestead RV destination. We opened 5 years ago last month, and I threw in pictures of our development. So we came up during COVID, and so that was a fun time. Yeah. All right, your largest barrier to operations is the staffing. So no argument, nobody's gonna argue with me about this. It is not a political thing. Everybody will agree, bipartisan, that America is suffering from a low income housing shortage. We've heard this for a long time, okay? We know this, okay? There's a shortage of houses, all right? What we're getting ready to hear, but we might not be hearing yet, but most of you already know, is America is suffering from, you can't find a worker. You cannot find a worker who will represent your company the way you want to be represented at a price that you're able to pay. It is very difficult. You can't find it, okay? That person is very, very difficult to find, and if you do find them, they're so expensive, you can't keep them, okay? That's the problem in America right now. So the next most important thing is that you must meter electricity. You must meter electricity for every guest. That includes your overnight guests. You must meter electricity. Next slide, I'll explain why, okay? Yes, sir.
Even in the transient part?
Even in a transient park, even an overnight guest, you must meter electricity. I will explain in the next slide, I promise, okay? And the most frustrating thing you're gonna have is the people itself. This would be a great business if we didn't have to worry about any guests, okay? What you're doing is adult babysitting, okay? That's really what you're doing, is adult babysitting, okay? And if you're doing a resort, they have high demand, okay? Come change my diaper, okay? Come hook this up for me. Come do this, come do that, all right? That is adult babysitting if you're going to a resort. If you're going to a community, long-term guests, you escort them to their site, show them where the pool is, and you might not see them for a few days. Those. Personally, my personality, I prefer communities, okay? Because people call me up and say, come change my diaper, and I go, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm not a resort person. All right, this is why you must charge for electricity. This guy on the left, I've got a point. This guy on the left, he uses about 10 kilowatt hours